Oh my god, there's so much blood on my shirt. Hello everyone, this random guy asked me to make a Balatro video 3 weeks ago. So here you go. You want to know what my favorite part of Balatro is? Endless mode. The part where you keep going after winning to see how many antis you can beat before the score requirement gets so high it starts having letters in it. I don't know about you, but I have no idea what this means. What even is a 290 E13? I thought that 5e10 would be half of 5e20, since half of 20 is 10, that's just how numbers work. But apparently the E refers to the amount of zeros this number has, which makes E10 50 billion and E20... Gradually, the game asks you to score more and more. Ante 20 wanting a number with 43 zeros. 10 antes later, the game needs you to score 149 zeros. If you somehow reach ante 39, the game asks you to score E308, a number so big your computer literally can't calculate it and Balatro breaks. Score at least man, not a number, it says. It doesn't matter how high you score here, you will always lose because the game's calculator is broken. This became a sort of true ending for the Balatro community. Score so much points that you make the game crash. The most common method for achieving this feat uses Baron and Mime. Baron multiplies your score for each king held in hand, while the Mime re-triggers every card held in hand, letting the Baron play again. Copy these two jokers with a bunch of blueprints and brainstorms, and you have your very own NASA computer. But this alone won't be enough to score 300 zeros, especially if you can only hold 8 kings. What makes this strategy so powerful in the late game is its ability to scale infinitely. The more kings you can hold, the higher your score. And for that, you will need Perkeo of Heidelberg. A real-world jester popular for drinking more wine than should be humanly possible for a man his size. In-game, this translates to cloning random consumable cards until you too can hold far more than you should be allowed to. Normally this is used to clone income cards so you can make infinite money, or turn your entire deck into kings. But for late game purposes, you want to copy the Cryptid, a spectral card that creates 2 copies of a selected card in your hand, going over your hand size limit. If you have hundreds of Cryptids, you can achieve those stupidly large decks people post everywhere that take like 10 minutes to calculate. To further increase your chances of breaking Balatro, you want to be using the Plasma deck, because, long story short, it drastically increases your score to the point that most ante-39 runs would be impossible without it. The score increase is so dramatic that it feels like I'm cheating somehow, but no, it's just a regular vanilla game mechanic. But what if there was something wrong with you? What if you wanted to reach the Killscreen in Balatro without using the Plasma deck or Perkeo, or any other legendary joker because of that stupid Chicket bug that increases your hand size? Can you beat Balatro without... No, you can't. You cannot get close with the limited joker slots you have. You'd have to conveniently find negative versions of every joker you need, but even then, it just wouldn't work, it's too unlikely. So then, how close can you get? Surprisingly, all the way to ante 32, before you slam your face against the brick wall known as this boss blind. Here's a fun way to improve Baron Mime. The Burglar grants you 3 extra hands at the start of the round at the cost of removing all your discards. For whatever reason, the Burglar's ability can be copied, which, depending on how many copying jokers you have, can lead to... yeah. Burglar synergizes very well with the Serpent, a boss blind which adds 3 cards to your hand no matter what after every played hand. A boss blind that you can keep rerolling for until you find it. In other words, if you have a lot of hands to play, you can add a lot of cards to your deck. This strategy alone would be enough to go all the way to the end of the game, if it wasn't for one thing: ante 32. Here's another fun fact. Balatro has final bosses. On ante 8 you're given one of 5 possible finisher blinds that don't appear elsewhere. If you try to reroll a finisher blind, you will only get other finisher blinds. which means the serpent can't be found. In free play mode, finisher blinds appear every 8 antes, which means you can't cheese your way through these blinds using the serpent, you actually have to beat them. Ante 16 doesn't pose too much of a threat, and neither does Ante 24. But to beat Ante 32, you need a score that's just way higher than what you can reasonably score, especially without either of these two things. Yet despite the fact this was very obviously impossible, I did it anyway because it sounded like fun. So I searched up Balatro negative blueprint seed, and this was the top result.
I discovered this on yellow deck purple chip. I do a lot of restarts. If you take this seed anywhere, let me know.
What piqued my interest here was the first reply. A user by the name of LawnJumpingAd4947 actually managed to reach Ante 39 using the plasma deck with this seed, claiming they did it with the naturally negative mime, which appears around Ante 18. Huh. Instant negative blueprint and a negative mime later on. The comment below says they skipped past like 5 different barons before reaching Ante 6, adding on that they found infinite naturally negative jokers. By this point I was intrigued, so I decided to do some research. I pasted the seed into a seed analyzing website and began looking for ways to potentially make more negative jokers. And on Ante 17, I found that potential with a negative skip tag. If you know exactly when a blueprint appears, what you can do is reroll just before it spawns, take the negative skip tag, and suddenly you have a free clickbait thumbnail, congratulations. At this point I want to explain how Balatro's shop works, since I didn't know this before starting this run and I think it's interesting. What you may know is that Balatro's jokers aren't actually random. The jokers that appear when you reroll are predetermined by the seed, fed to you on sort of a conveyor belt that determines what appears and when. What you may not know is that every ante has a different conveyor belt that shows different jokers. In other words, that negative mime that spawns on Ante 17 will not appear before then, no matter how many times you reroll. If you don't pick it up at Ante 17, it's probably not gonna show up again. How this is supposed to help you in an ordinary game? I don't know, but run begins. Under normal conditions, you can't afford a negative blueprint in the first shop. Okay, actually you can take the credit card, but shut up. Unless, of course, you take the convenient skip tag that makes everything in the next shop free. Free negative blueprint, free credit card with 10 mult, free buffoon pack and a free tarot pack, which I used to create another joker just to sell it because I need to build interest. On Ante 2, I learned of a really weird mechanic. According to the soul, rerolling once on Ante 2 should give me Sly Joker and Golden Ticket, but instead I get Sly Joker and Superposition. Why? No, really, why did this happen? Is the website lying to me? Is the game broken? Is it Halloween? After retrying several times out of sheer confusion, I learned that the Golden Ticket cannot spawn unless you have at least one gold card in your deck. If you don't, the game hallucinates another joker to take its place, which is what happened here. So after opening a tarot pack and making a gold ace, I got plus $4 for any played gold card. Why is this a good thing? Because a few rerolls later I find the Midas Mask. A joker that lets me play a bunch of face cards, turn them into gold, and in the same turn make $4 off of them, copy that with the blueprint and make twice as much money. This strategy is further helped by the Burglar, which when copied by the blueprint gives me 9 hands per round. This is so many that it literally doesn't matter what I play, the cumulative score of 9 hands will win no matter what, allowing me to focus on playing gold cards. A process that was bolstered by this sockin' buskin I found, re-triggering every face card, effectively doubling my income. At this point I felt unstoppable because this might be the best start I've had in this game. I later got an early mime, I found a baron immediately after entering Ante 6, found an instant brainstorm on Ante 7, which equaled to over $2,000 by the end of Ante 8. I was so powerful that by Ante 15 I died to this psychic. Something I should have realized when playing the game is how Psychic is one of the greatest enemies of Baron Mime. Because all of its power stems from the amount of kings you have in your hand, the strongest hand you can play is High Card, because it uses the least amount of kings. So when the Psychic forces you to play 5 cards, effectively removing most of your kings from your hand, that tends to be a problem. Luckily, I was prepared for this situation. Using the credit card's death ability, I was able to find both the golden ticket and Midas Mask earlier, which gave me an extra $100 by the start of Ante 4. Small optimizations like that gave me over $7,000 by the start of Ante 15. Which was so much money that whoever decides to rob my grave will be rich. On the bright side, just before dying I found that negative DNA the Reddit person was talking about. A joker I took for fun, even though it wouldn't be very useful. Like, why would I want to clone a random card once? What's the point? Why would I do that? It would be like trying to start a revolution by flushing your toilet. That doesn't do anything, you idiot. Except, in this case it actually does. If you copy the DNA with Brainstorm and Blueprint, you will create additional clones of the card you copied, turning a measly E57 into a much bigger E100. This was the first time in the run where I felt like this challenge might actually be possible. If I could already reach triple-digit E's, then Ante 32 stands no chance. So I started a new run, optimizing harder than I ever had before, collecting this luchador to brutally dismember the Psychic, until I reached Ante 15, the shop where the negative DNA should spawn, but instead I found a negative burnt joker. Now, in the moment, I didn't realize what had happened, and I just kept re-rolling, and 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 re-rolling. If you asked me why the negative DNA turned into a negative burnt joker, I wouldn't be able to explain that to you. But what I can explain is why a negative DNA spawned in the first place. One of the core mechanics of Balatro is that you can't hold 2 of the same joker, at least without Showman or some other duplication method. If you have the golden ticket in your inventory, no other golden ticket can spawn in the shop. Any ones that do get replaced by whatever the game hallucinates in that moment. This negative DNA is not the Ante 15 joker which is meant to appear. It is a replacement for a joker that I already have. And that joker is a naturally negative Baron. I have no words. Other than that, this extra joker is enough to push us past Ante 30 all the way up to my death on Ante 31. Not even Ante 32. I started with a free negative blueprint, made another negative using a skip tag, found a naturally negative Baron Mime, and after all of that you tell me it's not enough to reach Ante 32? I tried everything to push past this barrier. I made a cryptid card using Sixth Sense, and that wasn't enough. I tried looking for more negative skips, but as if to taunt me, the only available ones were on Ante 32. You know, the place I couldn't reach. Before I gave up, I did the only thing I could. Download the seed as a TXT and just look through it. Maybe there's something I missed. Okay, I think I may have just witnessed the plot twist of the century with this seed. So I've been doing some digging. I downloaded the TXT file. There's the negative Baron. I searched by negatives. There's a negative Steel Joker that we did pick up. There's the negative Mime. But if you go down just one more, negative Brainstorm. This is all 4 jokers you could possibly need for late game, and this seed just gives you them negative for free in the shop. Well, okay, not free, since you have to reroll 107 times, but still, this is absurd. This is not what normal Balatro looks like. My running theory is that the Cheshire Spy was involved in a demonic ritual, because this is not the kind of seed you find randomly. This is the type of thing you mysteriously receive in a letter after donating blood to a guy called What's it? It would be like loading up a new Minecraft world and immediately spawning inside the end portal. If you think I'm cheating somehow, you can load up this seed right now and try it for yourself, and you will see it is just this broken. With this new extra joker, the big bad final boss I was afraid of was beatable without using any cryptids. This deck and its 6 negatives was so strong by this point it scored 3 zeros higher than the required score. After that was done, I bought a burglar and forgot to copy it like an idiot.
Forgot to copy this guy.
Causing me to lose on the easiest part of the entire run.
Yep.
Okay, let's do this one more time. Ante 1. Skip first blind, play 4 of a kind 8, buy everything you can, create random joker, sell it, play instant full house and boss blind, make gold card and reroll for golden ticket, Midas mask, convert face cards to gold cards. Fast forward a few antes, pick up 6 cents, take the luchador shortly after, slowly convert my deck to kings and a few 6s, ante 11 use ectoplasm on brainstorm, ante 15 play a 6 to create a cryptic card, sell 6 cents, pick up negative baron, grab a second blueprint, use the ante 17 negative skip deck for another free blueprint, take the negative mime, sell luchador to disable the plant. Start rerolling for DNA and miss DNA. Waste a ton of money to find DNA in the next shop. Play a pair to avoid losing $10,000 to the Ox. Reroll a billion times to find a negative brainstorm, and from there the game plays itself. Not only is this deck strong enough to defeat Ante 32, but as long as you don't forget to copy the burglar, it's basically impossible to lose. What should be the most difficult part of Balatro instead became a test of patience, where I sat there doing the exact same thing for 40 minutes, waiting for my increasingly large hand to calculate, until eventually we reached Ante 39 in Balatro.
I would like to thank all the people that have helped me get here. I would like to thank the negative baron for showing up. I would like to thank the black deck for existing. If anyone ever tries to tell you the black deck is the worst deck, send them this video and it will not prove them wrong. I would like to thank this scripted card that I never bothered using because it wasn't important. And I would like to thank you for watching.
But enough thanking random stuff. This is the biggest hand size. This is the biggest hand size you can possibly get right now. And if we move that there, make this glass just for fun. Time to lose. Oh, we hit infinity, we hit nana-inf. You can tell because the calculations stop, and it looks like a weird creepypasta where there's no multiplication value. But if you think we're stopping there, you haven't seen anything yet. Just you wait for part 2.